How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today I wanted to talk about how manageable is life without alcohol. I have to talk about my own self again with this kind of thing and just tell you a bit about my own experience, and I'm sure that a lot of people are going to relate to this. I think most heavy drinkers will relate to this in some way, shape or form. When you first start drinking, I think it's more of a novelty than anything else. You drink for whatever reason, you start drinking for whatever reason, and you continue to drinking for whatever reason. But it's not until you get out of childhood and you start getting responsibilities, the responsibilities of life, that alcohol drinking really becomes a part of your life, and it becomes habitual. People don't notice that habitual side of alcohol drinking until they start having problems with it. They don't realize how dependent they have become on it. You'll hear the old stories of people going, nah, there's no problem, I can quit drinking anytime I want, I'm not addicted to it, I'm not hooked, I'm not dependent, it's not a habit for me, it's just something that I do, and anytime I want to quit, I can do it. And it's invariably, when people do try and quit, that they suddenly find out that, shit, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And it's not because people presume it's because of the actual alcohol themselves, and they believe that the alcohol has changed their brain in some way. And it's the habitual nature of it that has changed your brain. Your brain does change, I think that, but there's so many other things. Learning to play the piano, ride a bike, ride a horse, play chess, dance with your partner, growing up and getting a job, finding another job, moving house. These are all things that change your brain, change the wiring in your brain. So when people say that alcohol changes your brain, it's a scare tactic normally, or it's something for dramatic effect. But at the end of the day, it's not something out of the normal. It's a normal thing for your brain to change. It's called neuroplasticity. Now, it's the behavior and how much alcohol becomes a part of your life. That's where the changes happen. That's where the real fear is. That's where the hard work has to be done. That's where all the changes have to be made in order to move forward and to get away from alcohol. And that's where it's tough, It's tough to make those changes. It's tough to sort of go, well, I might have to not see my friends anymore, or at least for a while. I might not be able to go down to the pub for a while, if ever again. And I've just got to find all these ways of dealing with life, that I used to do with alcohol. Now I've got to find other ways to do it. So that's where the scary part comes in. And it's while you're going from that devil may care attitude of youth, where you're not really dependent on it. You don't have to be dependent on it. Most young people I don't think, get dependent on it. They get dependent because their friends are doing it or whatever. I mean, I didn't, certainly, until I was well into my late teens, maybe 17, 18, when I started going to bars, and that became a routine part of my life. But then you start noticing that you're getting into trouble because of it, right? Because of either the drinking, something that you've done while you're drinking, which is a lot of the case, something that you've said, or you get into trouble because of the aftermath of the drinking, which is the most likely. I mean, you go to work and you're not as good in work. You stay in bed when you should be up and about and doing things. You're making choices which are influenced by your drinking. For me, it happened over many years, where my life started getting comfortable with drinking first, but then it started to get messy as well, and eventually started to get uncomfortable. And that's, I think, when you really start to at least question the role of alcohol in your life. the role of the amount first. I mean, I think everyone goes through the amounts and thinks, well, am I just drinking too much? Is it just too much alcohol that I'm consuming and I need to cut down? And then they try, and then they try, and then they try again and again and again. I mean, if you're anything like me, this is what you've gone through. And every time you've cut down and you've either gone back to the same level, so you've gone a little bit further up. And eventually the mess comes and you start drinking to defeat the mess, so to speak, right? It becomes a vicious cycle. Shit happens, you react by drinking, thinking that drinking is going to make it a bit better, or at least you'll forget about it so you won't have to think about it. Then the next day comes and you realise that the problem is still there. In fact, the problem is probably a little bit worse. And you might think to yourself, well, what's happening here? I have to deal with this. I don't really want to deal with it, and maybe you go for another drink, and then the shit gets worse. Maybe you solve the problem not as well as you should have done, and it just becomes this vicious cycle of shit happening, drink to feel comfortable about the shit happening, wake up the next day, worse shit is happening, drink a bit more, drink to relax, drink to de-stress, drink to have fun, drink to socialise. And this becomes a norm where you have to drink to relax, you have to drink to socialise, you have to drink to de-stress, you have to drink to overcome problems because you're no longer capable of thinking properly. Now, again, this is all my own experience, so I'm not talking about anyone else, but I've been listening to people now through comments and through emails and through the coaching sessions where the stories are very, very different but remarkably the same in so many different areas. And one of the biggest areas is because people don't treat this as the drug that it is. This is a drug. This is a neurotoxic drug. It's one of the oldest recreational drugs on the planet. It's been around for a long time, but just because it's been around for a long time, it doesn't mean to say that we should still be doing it. When this drug was first consumed, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, people were sacrificing their children to the gods and stuff like that. I mean, do we really want to be associated with that kind of thinking, or think, well, yeah, it's an old thing, so therefore we should do it? What should we bring back? The child sacrifice? It's a ridiculous concept. It's a ridiculous way of looking at these things. But look, as I say, it's a scary concept to quit because of all the gaps, of all the things that you have to change, because of all the different areas of your life that you've got to face up to. But as I keep saying, you've only got the moment in order to live your life, right? It's a fleeting moment, but it's there. It's a continuous moment, right? And I'm all for preparing yourself beforehand to try and mitigate as many of the problems that you're going to face, the obstacles that you're going to come across, as many of those as you can. Planning for the future so you know where you're heading and you've got a good idea of what you want to do in your life, what you want to do afterwards. And you're not going to be able to do all this kind of stuff. It's difficult to think in the mind of a non-drinker while you're a drinker, right? It's just a fact of the longer you've been doing this, the more difficult it is to put yourself into the head of a non-drinker. But you'll get there, where drinking is normal to you now, it's habitual to you now. Non-drinking will become normal. It will become habitual to you, right? You just have to be patient. You have to put one step in front of the other. I love these walking videos for that one symbolic thing, it's one step in front of the other. I got a message, an email off a guy, it was on YouTube, I think. And the guy said, on these walks, I love your videos, man, but on these walks, where the fuck are you going to? And it's like, well, you don't have to go anywhere. Wherever you're going, you're coming back home. It's nearly always a round trip, you know. One of my things is to do is the Santiago de Compostela. It's a walk that goes from many different parts of Spain, and it ends up in a town called Santiago de Compostela. It's in the north. I'll figure out this now because my directionals are off. So it's that way. It's the northwest. So it's up in the northwest. It's up in Basque Country, and the traditional route to do it is across the north of Spain. But there's another way. There's plenty of other ways to do it. You can go from the south, from Sevilla, from Granada. There's one from Valencia, and there's another one from Alicante, and that's the one I want to do. It's on an old Roman road that goes, it goes in the direction of northwest, and it's 800 kilometers. The route is about 30 days of good walking, you know, and you know, it's something that it's got a religious significance to it. But I'm not religious. I'm not doing it for any religious purpose. I'm doing it purely because it's there and for no other reason, right? Where are you going to? I'm going there. Why are you going there? Because I want to do it, and it's like a romantic idea in my head, you know. What other reason do you need to do something, you know? Why do you have to have a direction when you're going? When I'm out here walking, my brain is churning over most of the time. When I'm doing the videos and when I'm not doing the videos, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do in my own life, what I'm going to do with Alcohol Mastery, what I'm going to do with Habits Unplugged. If you haven't been over to habitsunplugged.com yet, head on over there. There's going to be there's one video a week at the moment while I'm trying to figure out things, but there'll be maybe 2 or 3 videos a week coming forwards, and that's always going to be about habits and trying to deal with habits and habits in general. But yeah, so when you're without alcohol, you're much more prepared for your life in general. I feel much more prepared every day when I get up to live my life, you know, to go out there and do the things that I want to do, to think about the plans that I want to do in my life and to push myself forward for those things, you know. And it's just, the older I get, the more I'm looking forward to life, you know. And I know it's all going to end at one stage, and you know, we're all on that path. But for me, that's just another part of it. I mean, I'm not a religious person, as I said, right? But I'm also not naive or arrogant enough to say, well, there's nothing after death. You know, I don't believe that either. I think that, you know, there's every possibility that we go on, every possibility that we don't either. But you know, at the end of the day, this is it's a journey, you know, and that's the whole point of it. If you don't treat this as a journey, you know, you're screwed from the beginning. What do? You know, it's a journey from here to where you're going, where you're going to end up, and where that is, who knows. But anyway, with the risk of rambling too much, I'm going to end it here. Wish you all the best of luck. Tell you, look, keep the alcohol out your mouth and stay safe. It's a mad fucking world out there. If you want to sign up to the Alcohol Mastery starter pack, it's over on the website. Just leave your name and your email address, your first name and email address, and I'll send it out to you. It's a load of videos, a load of different things to try and help you to get your mind in the right state to quit drinking alcohol. Like I say, you know, a lot of this stuff is about basic preparation, getting yourself as prepared as possible. So until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery, onwards and upwards. Hey, take care.